And now, as they say, those holy scriptures of Monty Python, something completely different. So I'm going to attempt to encourage you to join me in a nigun, in a word of smoke. I don't have as good a voice as Claire, but I'll do what I can. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai. I was blessed to grow up in the Twin Cities. I was raised in Minneapolis. I went to college in St. Paul, which was even better because I got to go to college with Mother Claire. And while I have now lived for more than 27 years in Denver, the longest I have ever lived in one place, I am stunned there by the beautiful and, well, frankly, majestic mountains. I am still most at home around water, around lakes and the Mississippi. As a high schooler and college student, I would do the activity which is central to life in Minnesota. I would walk, run, and finally bike around the lakes of Minneapolis, on the river in St. Paul. As a family, we would take our vacations in the summer up north. That is, on the lakefront. We would stay in a small island resort in Lake Vermilion where the air was clear and the sunset gorgeous. Fishing, water skiing, swimming, reading, and just going for boat rides. These are the precious memories I hold dear. And in the winter, other activities emerge. Ice fishing, ice skating. I still ran along those frozen lakes with the little huts on them that the ice fishermen would saw deep into the ice to get to the water below and find the fish. The huts were the warming stations. It is very, very, very cold in the Twin Cities during the winter. I have been thinking a lot about the intermediate seasons, about fall and about spring. The past several months have been really hard for me as my recalcitrant depression has returned. But slowly, treatment takes effect. I'm afraid to trust it. I imagine the ice fishermen in the late fall and the early winter as they test the ice. It looks solid, but will it hold? I see the postings of my childhood resort as they mark their transition from fall to winter. They wait for the ice to be solid enough to hold snowmobiles and even cars to make transitions from the winter, right, to make transitions. And the opposite is true in the spring. The transition from winter to spring is marked by breaking up the ice, finding clear spaces for canoes and boats from the island to the mainland. And I wonder, how do they know? What if I'm mistaken? What if it all goes badly? As I emerge from my own internal winter with its stormy night darkness and frightening winds, I'm not sure what to trust. I feel a bit better today, but my internal feels wonder perhaps tomorrow will be worse, and I will collapse into the cold water before the ice. I can be trapped and unable to be found. How do we know when remission has arrived? How do we learn how to trust the things that can better? Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav, who was an 18th century sage, wrote in his famous book, Likutei Maharan, Mitzvah gadol lehiot b'simcha tamid, lehigaber laharhik ha'atzvut v'hama'ara shahara b'chol kocho. It is a great mitzvah, commandment, obligation, he says, to always be happy, to make every effort determinedly to keep depression and gloom at bay. And at first I gotta tell you, this guy seems clueless about grief, about depression, about mental illness. It's hard to be happy all the time. But Rabbi Nachman actually knew this personally. He had times of his own that looked like depression. Sometimes he would then go into the woods just to find peace, to recreate connection with the Holy One of Blessing. This place of deep pain, Rabbi Nachman thought of as sort of a void that was too big and too amorphous for words. There are times when one is in the midst of so much hurting that there is no way of talking. Because of this, Rav Nachman created the idea of a nigun, a wordless melody, or frankly, melodies for today, we've got lots of them. His hope was that singing could express that which his heart could not speak. Even today, when we are broken, when we are hurting, joining with others in these wordless prayers or singing our own can offer us a place of belonging, of connecting with one another, of connecting us to the Holy One of Blessing. Words may come later or not, but the melody goes on. It is not, he says, that we will have depression and gloom. It's just our goal not to give into it. Do what it takes to help to lift your spirits, to find comfortable in being yourself. When the ice below your weight, take out your canoes and rejoice. As the ice melts below us, get in a canoe and use the oars to break up the ice and make progress towards shore. At all times, notice the beautiful, the blinding shimmer of the sun off the ice, the calm reflection of fluffy clouds reflected in a glass-like lake at sundown. To be in the moment, to find blessings in the struggle. And all of this is hard. Living a good life, living a life of meaning means taking risks. It means trying new things and seeking to change older, problematic ways of being. Living is to venture onto the ice and sometimes fall into the freezing cold water below. Growing is to smash the ice beneath our feet and to find the water in which we can move. It sounds good in the abstract, but in my reality anyway, in lived reality, that's a whole different matter. Getting up, checking the ice, moving through yet another hard day is exhausting and difficult. Sometimes I just want to give up. My depression can drown out the good in the world. I end up feeling small and frightened. It is a big world, and how do we manage? So consider Rav Nachman's most famous saying, Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar ma'od v'ha'ikar lo lefachet klal. This has been set to great music that teenagers love. It means the whole world is a very narrow bridge, but the main thing, ha'ikar lo lefachet klal, ikar, the principle, the most important thing, is not to be afraid at all. However, this is not the exact Hebrew translation, but many of us who grew up Jewish know how to belt up this song in song session. Kol, right? Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar ma'od v'ha'ikar lo lefachet klal. All right, we are young, runs the undertone of that. We can handle anything that comes our way. And as we sang, we knew we could cross fearlessly that bridge because we had one another to hold on to. Singing alone is good, but singing loudly with a guitar, with an organ, with a community, that belting out our fearlessness can feel transformative. I suffered depression as a child and a youth, but I remember the way that singing together, whether words or just the I, gives me a sense of belonging. It gave me courage to try new things, to venture forming new friendships. As part of the group, I felt I mattered. My voice with its harmonies and its wrong notes, my joy, my discomfort, all of these would be seen and accepted as long as I sang along. But we teens did not have it exactly correctly. Did teens ever have it exactly correctly? A slightly more accurate reading of Rod Nachman's Proverbs is, V'dai, she'atam tzarich la'avod al gesher tzara'od v'ha'ikar shelo yitpached klal. He says, no Jew, a person must cross a very narrow bridge. And the main rule is do not be frightened at all. Suddenly, we find ourselves alone on that bridge. Instead of clinging to one another, being brave about going out into the world, instead of one narrow bridge being shared by us all, this version articulates a journey through darkness and challenges to be a singular one. We may each face such a narrow pathway through the walls of life, but the span we cross is unique to each person. Perhaps that is what makes it most frightening. My dark places are not your dark places. Is there a way that we can still help each other as we walk through the scary journey of life? It's unclear. But the original of Rod Nachman's saying is again slightly different from the popular version. Rather, v'lo yifached klal, rather than you shall not be afraid, he wrote lo yitpached klal. It's not do not be afraid, but rather do not allow yourself to be afraid. Or even, given that the verb he uses a reflexive, perhaps it means do not scare yourself. There will always be fear. One can have fear and rise above it. To be brave is not to never experience fear or never be scared. It is to have the fear and then the courage to move through. A friend of mine, when I was struggling many years ago, gave me a plaque to encourage me to keep going. Courage, it says, does not always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. May we all find the will to do so. May we see out of the bridge, our own and our fellows, and be willing to cross it. To recognize difficulties and yet not make them bigger than they have to be. To know we are all connected, crossing our own bridges, but we can raise our voices in song together. And may that connectedness help us move along our way. And we say, Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Yai dai 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 dai.